Yo, Descendant, how's it going? Augiesaint here, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And I want to share with you my updated bunny build. As we all know, the new meta now on bunny and a lot of other Descendants has become the non-crit meta because of the new amplification mods. They're just giving us this massive amount of skill power boost modifiers and just raw skill power that we haven't had before in the past. Why we always had to resort to going crit to get as maximum damage that we could get out of our builds. But now, updated bunny, she's very comfy, she's very fast, and we unfortunately had to drop high voltage for the 400% because you just do not have enough AoE to make up for the difference on the boss. We have been testing all of this on the streams for the last couple of days, so drop them by at twitch.tv/Augiesaint. I'd love to see you guys there. We do dual stream on YouTube as well, so you can catch us live right here on the channel. But like I said, we've been testing all of this stuff, and we tested so many different variations of mods and stuff, and this is just the peak that I can get her to feel how I want it to feel. She's not as comfy as some people might like her because I only run one HP mod. By all means, you can change that up. It's completely up to you. So without further ado, let's hop into the setup and I'll show you guys how I have it, and then also give you a lot of options how you can change it around to make it more comfy or to suit your playstyles. This is how I have mine all set up. I'm going to show you guys these slots because I have been getting a few comments in some of my recent build videos. There is the slots if you guys want it. I didn't know people actually wanted to see this, but there you go. There are these slots. Okay, pause the video, take a screenshot, take a mental screenshot. Now we get down to the mod breakdown. So first up, we are running electric condense. This is really your choice what you want to run up. There's so many different options there. The only thing I could suggest for you in the 400% is do not run high voltage, because the time difference that you make up for on the boss, yes, your boss kills with high voltage will be higher, and the trash killing is just going to be so much slower, even with the increased time that we've had on the bosses. We've tried with and without high voltage, and without high voltage is just always faster because of, you know, the trash taking so long to die, because there's just such massive amounts of mobs in these dungeons. And high voltage limits your damage to only 3 targets at once, and whereas you take that off, you can literally hit as far as you can reach. As big as your circle is, you can hit all the enemies inside the circle. And with all the damage we are doing now, we can just clear out places instantly. And then electric condense is just so nice for these because it does give you a little bit of speed boost as well. The only bad thing about this is it gives you really annoying animation, so I suggest whenever you do cast this, make sure you do it while you're jumping in the air. That's what I usually do because I always have my speed of light up, so I'll be sprinting like all the time, and then I jump into the air while I'm sprinting and I hit the electric condense just to minimize the little animation lock you have there, because it kind of like pauses you when you're running, and if you're running on the ground and you press this, it like totally breaks your momentum. But if you are in the air while you're jumping, it doesn't seem to affect you as much. Obviously, it's still going to do a little bit of annoying animation, but other than that, I've come to really enjoy this mod, especially when you get to elites. It just makes it so much faster if you know exactly where the elites are spawning within these like 400% dungeons. After you've done it a couple of times, you'll see in my demonstration video, I just go ahead and pop it, and then 2 seconds later, I deactivate it because there's only the elites left and there's nothing else to kill. I just want to kill them to move further. Boom, deactivate, pop, and it does a massive amount of damage and kills the elites, especially with us having maximum range on this build. We have completely capped out our range, and it just deletes everything. But another Transcendent mod you could totally run as well, which is a suggestion I would make for people if you just want the comfiest run of your life. The time difference between running electric condense and superconductor is very, very minimal. Sometimes I would even get the same time, even on the bosses, which is crazy because of how much damage this adds. But with this, you can pretty much just face tank the bosses and you're never in threat of dying. With superconductor, I know it's only like a 20% damage reduction, because what this does is it actually adds attack reduction to the bosses, so you technically gain 20% damage reduction. As the bosses, mobs, everything is doing 20% less attack. You see their attack decreased 20%. So if you want the comfiest run of your life and you just want to face tank everything, obviously you should not be playing bunny that way, because bunny is meant to be moving the whole time and, you know, running around, and obviously by running really fast and moving, you're doing as much damage as you can do, and you're also avoiding attacks, so you don't really need this. But if you want to be lazy, turn off your brain and, you know, be super tanky, you can just add that, and it's basically like adding a whole nother HP mod or a defense mod. This turns out and it makes you extremely tanky, so if you want to try it out and just be invincible, go ahead and try it out. You'll lose a little bit of that movement speed boost that you gain from electric condense, as well as the explosion for the elites, but overall you'll just be super comfy, and it's basically like adding a whole nother defensive mod to your setups. So that is up to you how you want to run it. After a lot of testing, I have found this is to be the way that I want to run, especially since we are moving all the time. We can have our speed of light up all the time. We can just run circles around the boss, and the boss can't even really kill us. If you do stand still, the boss will kill you. I'm going to let you know. If you do mess up, if you fall over and you stand still, or you run out of MP or whatever, and you're not moving, the bosses will kill you, because, you know, they do a lot of damage, especially the guys with the shotguns. If you're like really close to them and they knock you over and shotgun you 2 or 3 times right afterwards, you're gonna die. So just be warned with that. But obviously that all works into how Bunny plays as a character. You're meant to be running around in circles, and the range on this is so massive. you can most of the time be running around objects and hiding, and the bosses can't even hit you while you're still killing them through the walls. So that's why this build just claps cheeks and works so beautiful. But Electric Condense for me is just the best way that I've gotten the build to feel. So now let's get into the other mods. We are running the new battle mod. Well, I say new, this has been around for a long time. But now because of the added bonuses like the electric amplification and the single amplification, these are massive increased skill power modifiers and skill power, just raw skill power that we never had before. So that's why power increase is now actually giving us more damage than what, say, a electric specialist would, or focus on electric, which is the same socket type like the battle socket over there. Because if you stack too much of the same thing, you're going to put all your eggs in one basket. You'll do a little bit less because the multipliers, it's weird. I know it's a lot of like math and stuff. I don't know the math behind it. There's a lot of other YouTubers that have broken down the math and everything. I just physically test this myself. I go to the training room, I go into fights, and I put it on and I see which does more damage and which does less damage. I have tested power increase and I have tested focus on electric and electric specialist, wherever they are. Yeah, electric specialist right over there. And after all the testing, power increase has given me the most amount of damage with having both of these amplification mods on, and then focus on singular as well. That's to help us with cooldown and everything else. So this is the most amount of damage I could squeeze out. And then another step further, I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, but with the Slayer set, somebody told me in my chat the other day that if you have the Slayer set on, the skill power boost over there is like a massive skill power boost of 26%. So they say if you have the Slayer set on, then the power increase actually becomes worse than like electric specialist or something. I tried this in the lab and actually in the dungeons and stuff, and I'm still getting more damage with power increase over electric specialist. So with all the different combinations I have tried, power increase has given me the most, especially running it with the Slayer set. So power increase, a lot of damage. You want big damage, go power increase. We're running both of the new amplification mods for the boost to singular as well as electric. Now this does take away your crit, so no more critting, but your white numbers hours are hitting now for 533, I believe is what we've capped out at. 533k is what we're getting per tick of our lightning emission with the way we have this all set up, obviously with our reactor as well playing into that, which I'll show you guys once we get done with the mods. And then since we're not running high voltage, we don't gain the extra cooldown. So we do actually need to put in a cooldown mod, a small little cooldown mod. Double fingers plus one focus mod is enough. We've got like a 0.5 second downtime, which is not really that bad. You don't really feel it. So to me, it feels perfectly fine with basically no downtime in between, because you've got other stuff to do like jumping around and, you know, getting your speed boost or whatever it is you may be doing. That 0.5 seconds doesn't really make an impact for me at all in the gameplay. And then we come over to our range mods. We are running maximize range. It does have a little bit of a negative skill power modifier there, but it's not affecting us too bad since it's the only one we have. We don't actually run maximize conservation in this build. We have skill expansion for even more range, and then finally we have frugal mindset capping out our range. Now this is giving us skill cost reduction as well as range, and this is like the perfect amount to just cap out the range, because we have a look at our lightning emission. We can see the range over there. The max expandable range is 300%, so that means 300% of 7 meters. We see ours is capped out at 21 right now. If I take out frugal mindset, this goes down to 20.1, so it's literally just giving me that tiny little bit of range that we need to hit the cap. And that 1 meter might not feel like a lot, but trust me, when you're doing these dungeons at 1 meter, sometimes I'd be running through dungeons at lightning speed, and I have tested this without the frugal mindset on. Then there's always that one little mob that might just be spawned somewhere on the little edge and you just don't hit him. And I have so many times I've had to go back with 199 out of 200 enemies, and it's so annoying to go back and backtrack. You lose like 10-20 seconds of backtracking time just to go and find that last mob. And then with this fully maxed out with that extra meter of range there, you pretty much just run forward, press W and win, and everything around you is just going to evaporate. That's why I personally like to run this. But in saying that, this is the flex slot for the build, and I would say you can really put whatever you want there, because if you're not like me and you don't just want to run in a straight line and have the dungeon evaporate, if you actually want to pick up loot and stuff, because when I'm running these, I'm usually just speed running them to the end to get all the stuff done and to try out these builds. So all you got to do is, you know, sidestep a little bit and you'll make up for that range difference. So that's why I say this mod, completely up to you what you want to put in there. The suggestions I could give is if you don't mind losing a little bit of damage, you could go with is maximize conservation, because it gives you a massive amount of skill cost reduction. I personally don't like that negative skill power modifier. That only loses you about 30k per tick. But if you think of the speed of how fast we're killing things and ticking everywhere, 30k adds up to a lot of damage, especially when you're on the bosses and, you know, you've got to constantly do tick damage to them to kill them. 30k to me just doesn't feel worth it. Plus I'm not really gaining anything else with the skill cost reduction, because with strong mentality, the 15 15% skill cost and the 8% skill cost over there. What have we got? We got like 20, almost 24% skill cost overall. And I can keep up my speed of light the whole dungeon, no problems, because of the sheer amount of enemies in the 400%. You can actually pick up so many blue orbs. Even in the boss room, I barely ever run out of speed of light. It does happen sometimes. I will be honest with you guys, it does happen sometimes, but you know, like 1 out of 10 times I'm running out of MP. So what I could suggest actually is to leave this as your 400% setup, and then if you're running maybe like open world content, you want to drop out this for maximized conservation, because open world content you don't need as much damage, and then you have like infinite amount of run with that, because putting that on is going to boost us all the way up to like 50% skill cost reduction. So you'll surely never run out of your speed of light if you switch over to maximized conservation. And then another thing you could do is you could add some of the collector mods. You could go for HP collector, you could go for MP collector. Anything you feel like you are missing, like I said, completely flex slot up to you. You could even go with Dangerous Ambush if you want, but after all my testing in the dungeons, in the lab, Dangerous Ambush does seem to work on Bunny. But when I actually get inside dungeons, even mobs that can't see me like through walls and stuff, if they know of your presence, like if they've started running towards you because you're murdering their buddies, you know, like 20 meters away, Dangerous Ambush doesn't proc. So for me, it just didn't feel worth it, because I barely ever got this to actually proc and give me a damage boost in dungeons. I don't know if that's just maybe me, maybe I'm just looking at it wrong, maybe I'm blind or whatever, but to me, Dangerous Ambush doesn't feel like it really works all too much in dungeons, especially because the enemies can like hear you before you come around corners and stuff, which obviously I thought this was only line of sight, but no, as long as they are alerted of your presence, it will not work, so you won't be getting that increased damage over there. So that's why I just stick with my frugal mindset. I've tested everything in that slot, and to me this feels the comfiest. But flex slot, do whatever you like with that slot. You could even put in another HP mod. If you put in an HP mod there, you'll have so much HP you'll be invincible. Completely up to you, put in there what you prefer. And then moving on to our last one, we have obviously Strong Mentality for the skill cost reduction there, combining with Frugal for like giving us that 24%. And then lastly, we come over to our HP mod. We are running HP amp for the most amount of HP with the least amount of negative, since we don't really care about maximum shield. Now, Stim Accelerant does give you a little bit more HP, but you lose quite a fair amount of MP, so I would rather stick with that as my role. So that is how we have it set up. We can speed run pretty much all of the 400%, no problem. If you're running anything else besides the 400%, switch out Electric Condense for high voltage, and then drop out this maybe for increased conservation or HP collector, MP collector. Just switch that around, but the build works perfectly fine if you drop this and switch it over to high voltage. Only problem is in the 400%, you don't want to run high voltage because it just results in a much slower clear in general. So that is how we have the mod setup. Now let's take a look at our components and our reactor. First of all, we are running the Tingling Singularity Reactor for electric singular boost, and then the rolls you want to get on this is again singular and electric boost, as that just benefits the build the most by giving you some more increased skill power boost ratio. We are already capped out on range, so more range wouldn't do anything for us. Duration we don't need, cooldown we don't need. The only real thing you could maybe supplement in there is skill cost reduction, but I have a reactor with like maxed out skill cost reduction and I tried it out, and the skill cost to me honestly just doesn't feel that great. The skill cost negative on the reactor, so I personally would just run with the singular power boost and the electrical skill power boost to get as much damage out as you can. And then moving on to our component sets, we are running the beautiful Slayer set, my favorite set in the game. Does the most amount of damage for skill builds. It doesn't give you the best amount of defensive stats, but we have 7k HP and 7k defense, not too bad. So now let's have a look at the stats. We got MP recovery out of combat and then max HP over there. On the sensor, this is very important. It's probably the only role that really, you know, affects you quite heavily, is the maximum MP and the MP recovery in combat. Very important role. And then the second most important role would be the MP recovery modifier on the memory piece over here, as you guys can see, because that recovery affects your in combat and out of combat MP recovery. So it is pretty important to get that one, but nowhere near as important to get max MP and MP recovery on the sensor. And then lastly, we have the processor. Now this, you can really get whatever you want. We just ended up with shield and shield recovery because that's like the most defensive thing you could get there. You could also get toxic resistance or equipment pickup, drop rate, anything you want. The processor kind of gives you like the worst stats anyway. If you want to have more tankiness without losing damage, because the Slayer set does add quite a bit of damage for you guys, if you want to get more tankiness but not lose all that damage from the Slayer set, all I would suggest to do is switch over to Superconductor. Like I said earlier in the video, that 20% attack down on the bosses especially. This is mainly going to affect the bosses because you're going to be one-shotting the trash mobs anyway. The only other mobs that should do damage to you is maybe the elites, the elite trash mobs, because you won't have electric content, so they won't instantly die, but instead of instantly dying, they'll take 3 seconds to die. So this is mainly going to help you at the boss at the end, but obviously any other damage you will take throughout the dungeon will also be reduced. So this pretty much makes you invincible. So if you wanted to get more defense and be more comfy, I would highly suggest just switching out Superconductor. The clear differences between these is literally like 5 to 10 seconds tops per dungeon. I have tried it out, so it's totally up to you how you want to run it. I just like to press that big pop explosion and have a little bit of movement speed from Electric Condense. So that's going to be it for the bunny build. Hopefully you guys like the updated version and it serves you guys well in the 400%. I really do enjoy the 400%. They are so fun to just farm over and over and over. It's like greater rips from Diablo 3. I can sit there all day and farm the stuff. But further up, we have a Kyle build coming out soon. We have an updated Volby build. We got a lot of stuff coming to the channel. So if you guys want to drop a sub and a like to this video, it helps me out so much and it keeps you guys up to date with everything TFD and Augiesaint related. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I'll catch you in the next one as well as the live streams. Augiesaint now.
Run free and dive into the sky. Here goes